Hi friends, host Eric here, talking with friends, and welcome to what I can only refer to as a Delta Quadrant nightmare. Delta Quadrant types rely on the idea that, it's like if you're an ESTJ, you go about life prepared to meet, to function well within your quadrant, kind of. It's like if everybody else is about doing what they feel like, then ESTJ is great because everybody has clarity about what they feel, and the ESTJ is there to facilitate them doing it. Instead, my poor father is here with 2 alphas and 2 betas. Thanks, Benjamin. Benjamin. I watched your video with Taylor and somebody else about Damon, about Ben's word sensitivities. Anyway, it's a good video. The trouble here is my dad wants us to trim. Fine. Really want this afternoon. I just want to chill around here until I figure out what I want to do on my own and make it happen on my own. In other words, I like to provide my own SE. I don't like somebody else to SE for me, really. And then Delilah, Beta Quadra, she's a little bit more cooperative, I guess you could say. She and Danny are having a fight over who gets to say what they want to do, and who, it's like they're playing FETI fuck around time, like, what do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? You decide. No, you decide. You know what you want. No, you know what you want. The right thing is, none of us in Alpha or Beta, because we've got 2 duals here. Delilah and Rachel are duals, Beta Quadrant duals, and me and Danny are Alpha Quadrant duals. He's an ISFJ. He may not know that yet, but he is. Anyway, so Rachel and Delilah get along well. And they sort of fit together nicely right away, instantly, without really any effort on my part or anything. Danny and I haven't really interacted much yet, but I'm sure we get along fine. He's very introverted. So here my dad comes, and he's got thoughts about what we might want to do this afternoon, or where, he's saying, well, let's go to the thrift store, and Rachel needs a bathing suit. If I mention something like that in passing, I need to go get Rachel a bathing suit, then it's impossible that it will not proceed forward that my dad tries to solve that problem in some fashion. So, if you're a TE Dom who are with people who kind of countervalue TE or are blind to it, and you've got Rachel and Danny are both blind to TE, and me and Delilah both countervalue it. No gamma quadras present, just 1 delta. That's my dad, ESTJ. 2 alphas, that's ENTP, me, and ISFJ, Danny. 2 betas, INFJ, Rachel, and ESTP, Delilah. So, at least I understand what's going on, sort of on an abstract level. Rachel probably does a little bit as well. Delilah and Danny just sort of are, being how they are, without a lot of metacognition regarding functions, because they're not into cognitive functions, So anyway, right now Rachel's outside talking to my dad. My dad likes Rachel. Finds her easier to talk with than Delilah, or at least Delilah and Danny. Delilah is very much talkative, so my dad won't get much of a chance to be any third slot, talk a lot person himself. What are the absolute values of the shadow functions? Good question. So 6 is instrumental and 8 is instrumental across the board. Both aspects of 6 slot and both aspects of 8 slot are instrumental. 5th slot is, it's the opposite of 4th slot. So it's like 4th slot, your contrary aspect to your dominant is absolute, and your equivalent aspect to your dominant is instrumental. It's the for the 5th, it's the same one is absolute and the opposite one is instrumental. So Ni, metaphysical for me is an absolute value, Ni, physical for me is instrumental value. 4th slot, Si, physical is an absolute value, Si, metaphysical is instrumental value. So,
are we good to go?
Yeah. And then the 7th slot function is going to be it's an odd one. It's polar. So it seems to me that it flips with the 3rd. Like the 3rd,
Are you guys recycling?
No, we're not.
No, we're not. Okay.
It seems as though the same aspect is absolute. The opposite aspect is instrumental. And with the 7th, the opposite aspect is absolute. The same aspect is instrumental. As you're done. So, that's how my understanding of this, the aspects and the values like that is evolving. And I tend to think that's how a 7th plays out. Although I'm not really sure. It could be that what I'm viewing as absolute is just a very weak instrumental. Why don't you recycle? Well, I just didn't start by recycling. I don't know. I came in here and put all the trash in one bag, which included cans, bottles, and stuff. I could be recycling now at this point. We should probably start recycling now that I'm aware that there are, in fact, recycling bins down there. Once I took the trash out, I saw that there were bottles, cans, and trash. And so I thought, okay, well, I guess I should probably separate it. But fuck it, I already got these ones not separated. 7th is the fucking slot. Kind of. It's a slot where, I mean, you could say that.
Okay. By the way, I had one of those lime guava coronas. They're really, really very good.
Have another. Have as many as you want.
Okay, here we go.
Hey guys.
I see you. Yeah, they're really delicious.
So they're going up to the thrift store. I feel just a general sense of because until my dad would like he wasn't getting clear answers from people about what they wanted to do or whatever. And so until I sort of stepped in and said, okay, this is what Rachel is trying to tell you, Dad. And you're not getting this. That she does not want to go anywhere in Switzerland. She wants to stay here, relax. But Delilah did want to go somewhere because, of course, she's ESTP. I found bacon. I'm sort of unsure about this question here. I kind of going back and forth as to what I think about it. The 3rd slot is definitely the case that the metaphysical is absolute. The physical seems more instrumental in the sense that I'm okay with incurring FE consequences in the short term if I think it's going to pay off in terms of FE meanings in the long term. I understand the 3rd slot as the instrumental and absolute is relating to each other, so to speak. That FE as a general thing is an absolute value, but sometimes you have to sacrifice FE short term for FE long term, and that's okay. In contrast, FI short term, FI experiential is an absolute value. FI across time, I'm not even sure what that means. I don't really get it. I think it's like understanding how your feelings evolve over time or something. But I don't know. The thing is, I know this much. It's a really bad idea for me to make decisions based on my seventh slot. And it's a deliberation function, so it's designed to draw conclusions about things in some sense. TI, no, it's nonsense. It's not really, FI is not related to values or principles. This is a common misconception. We can understand that values and principles are, in fact, the metaphysical alternative to FI. FI is an authentic value. Now, note, there's nothing principled about that, and it doesn't uphold any particular value except selfishness. It is such the case, though, that for most healthy people, they find suffering to be FI negative. Like if I witness suffering, I have a negative FI feeling about it, right? But it's not always the case. There's plenty of times when somebody is feeling very vindictive and cruel or taking sadistic pleasure out of incurring harm onto somebody and feeling as though that's the best and most just thing, you know? So the thing is, it's important to remember that most understandings of FI are wrong because they focus on the FI that they normally feel when they're feeling as one would think is appropriate, like wanting well, wanting good for other people, and feeling, you know, appalled by witnessing things that are appalling is normal. But there's an equivalent side of feelings that is cruel, sadistic, Schadenfreude, or whatever else. I mean, look at the people who attack me all the time, the spite monkeys, the haters, the trolls who come in here and try to do harm however they can. That is motivated by FI. There's no other explanation for it. I'm not somebody who ought to be opposed in that fashion. I'm not somebody who actually deserves to have a lot of harm incurred because of some wrongdoing of mine. There's no justice involved in this, right? So it's got to be motivated by feelings. They are butthurt about something, and they want to get back at me because I probably embarrassed them or something like that. Or just they see me as too big for my britches, and they want to take me down a notch. Or, you know, it's basically like if somebody has a lot of sense of their own potential or intellectual fortitude or whatever, when they see somebody who's exercising that potential or who's standing up and saying, no, I am right and you were wrong and that's it, and who's winning those arguments, is going to incur a lot of pushback from people who are insecure, who don't feel confident in their own equivalency in terms of intellectual fortitude or strength of argument or whatever. Especially if those people thought of themselves prior to encountering me as the shit, you know? That's going to incur a lot of hatred. Am I a dick? I mean, yeah, kind of, I guess. If you think somebody who's unabashed in stating the truth, who does so directly, who doesn't code it with a lot of FE shit a lot of times, you consider that being a dick, then yeah, I'm a dick. Guilty as charged. But I'd rather be a dick and correct and stout in my intellectual correctness, you know, than be any alternative. No, because it's not off limits as a principle. It's off limits because of my particular feelings, and that's it. In other words, somebody else might not feel the same way. There'd be no reason to demand their significant other stop doing that, right? It's not universal at all. It doesn't generalize at all. Now, it's true that when as soon as we represent it in words, we represent it symbolically in terms of a term-based understanding of things. But that doesn't mean that the thing that's being represented is itself term-based, and it's not. Jeebus? I'm removing that comment, but not putting you on timeout. So, it's like when I say it's not okay for Kimberly to rewrite my history with my parents and my family such that it was somehow bad or abusive rather than what it was, which was healthy and loving. Her attempt to rewrite that, I could make an argument that it is not okay for her to do that because she is fighting the truth with lies. I could make that argument. In that case, I'd be making a principled argument. But what I said is, it's not okay for you to do that. I'm not going to justify it at all with anything. I don't need to have any justifications. I don't like the way it makes me feel, and that's it. Now, that's an unprincipled argument. That's an arbitrary argument. It's saying, I arbitrarily demand that you change your behavior here because I don't want to justify it, because just for the fact that it makes me feel bad. And that's it. And if you don't want it, then we're going to fight about it. So that's FI. It's unreasonable. But sometimes you should be unreasonable, right? Sometimes there's things where being reasonable about them is itself fundamentally unreasonable. And you have to understand the distinction between moments where it's okay to be arbitrary. In fact, it's preferable to be arbitrary, and moments when it's not. You have to be able to note the frame. And we're talking about things that ought to be, that purport some sort of universal applicability. Then you better universally validate. If not, then there's no reason to. It's like, what kind of soup do I want for lunch? I don't need to universally validate that. I shouldn't universally validate that. I don't need to establish to anybody that it's actually better for me to have split pea soup than it is to have tomato bisque. It's a matter of personal preference. And so it would be silly for me to use universal justification for a matter of personal preference. And in certain areas in your life, you ought to use personal preference, not universal justifications. For example, bat soup does sound delicious, Stephen Ray. I agree. Bat soup sounds delicious. It takes a lot of bats. You're going to have to collect a lot of bats. Curse the lag, you want to know what FI is? FI is the interested calculus, the personal valuing of things. The fact that I like this teddy bear more than that teddy bear, it links to FI. The fact that I like this person more than that person links to FI. The fact that I root for this side to win versus that side to win. Usually for most people is an FI thing. It's rarely, for few people is it logically deduced. And that's the thing that TI users need to remember, and it's challenging for us, is that when we provide what are in fact the best reasons and when we provide how people should think about something. In other words, when we're correctly presenting something as, this is meow, and meow means meow, and meow meow, people don't want to necessarily engage in that modality at all. And they're saying, but arbitrary. And you go, but that's not what, but that's just arbitrary. Well, the thing is, the problem with those kind of communications is it's not the case in the status quo that most people, when they have those kind of communications, understand why they're going the way they are. So in other words, neither side is saying, okay, listen, I'm making an arbitrary interested calculus here because I'm using FI. So obviously your justifications, your rational justifications aren't going to get you anywhere. Because that would require the rationality of TI to recognize that's what they're doing. Yeah, I'm not sure about the absolute instrumental values of the third and seventh. Turn-based FI, I just don't understand. I don't have any good, I don't feel like I intuitively grasp it, although I kind of get the concept of it, understand how feelings evolve over time, but I don't feel like I get it, like grok it, Corona is an anagram of raccoon. Thank you for that. Thank you. It's good advice, Elizabeth being over. And you're obviously an experienced bat soup maker. Who did I trigger now? I don't think I triggered anybody. I mean, I trigger people, obviously. I was just, it's like the last couple live streams I had. I don't know him well enough to judge that movement. I get these haters come in and try to spam the chat with their bullshit or whatever. I guess I was sort of thinking about that. But in general, I'm thinking about the argument that I'm making there, which is it's a very good sign if the people who hate you the most and who are attacking you the most won't engage with you directly. It means that's the kind of people you want to be your enemy. They're irrational. They're filled with spite. You don't want people like that on your side, for sure. You've been watching Facebook drama unfold? I haven't been onto Facebook. I need to go there and reinstate counted, I guess. But it's like that's kind of one of the other things is prompting this live stream is a little bit of stress over that. I stress over community conflict. I like Countess. I like Taylor, obviously, and it's unfortunate that I'm being put in the middle. I know Countess crosses some lines. She's crossed some lines with me too. Maybe a little bit more tolerant than Taylor about that. Eric gets a little fast talky, but I like getting corrected. Sorry about the fast talking. I'll try to slow that down. I shall smite thee. I shall smite those who attempt to spite me, right? Like those who are bringing a lot of spite will ultimately be smitten by me. And the reason is because I'm not actively going after anybody in particular. In live streams like this, I'm actively going after the very manifestation of spite that they represent, perhaps, but I'm not even naming anybody, or I don't know who the fuck these people are. I'm just saying I'm ultimately going to win because I'm correct and because I'm persistent, because this is what I do. I continue to make videos regardless. I just can't help it. And in each of those videos, I continue to disseminate the truth. Now, some people might say, well, Eric, that's the truth as you see it. Well, that's true. But fortunately for everybody who listens to what I'm saying, the truth as I see it is the truth through the most disinterested calculus I can muster. In other words, I am not negatively impacted by bias in the way most other people are. This is multiple reasons, not just type. It also has to do with getting into debate very young compared to most people and having formal training in it. Or at least as a coach, I had some formal training. I didn't really have formal training as a kid, but I formally trained myself. And there's nothing that makes you more capable of disinterested calculation of various arguments than to sort of say you definitely don't. You get used to the idea that your beliefs are irrelevant in the truth or falsehood of the argumentation, that things win or lose on their merits. Can I feel the love tonight? Yes, I can. It's been really nice having time with Rachel again, speaking of love. It's great, you know. It's a FI thing, so there's not really much to say about it. She loves me, you know. I feel loved by her. Never really felt so loved before. I never felt so loved and appreciated before. And that's great. You know, she's very important to me. I'm also super attracted to her, which is also kind of a new thing in a relationship for me. I'm used to being like, okay, well, there's an area that doesn't matter, so they can definitely, you know, compromise on the looks area, and then I'll get more of what I like in some other area, or something like that. Some sort of stupid ass fucking TI workaround of FI logic. It totally matters. It does. If you're with somebody you think is really sexy, then it's great. You know, it's the same as it's always been. It's all in. I live with female, and I don't do other levels of commitment. I do all in. Assume we're getting married. If shit happens down the road that makes me rethink that, fine. But nothing has so far. You know, she's great. It's great being with another 7, an Enneagram 7. I'll tell you that much. Now, granted, it's great being with another Enneagram 7, at least partially because we've got this kind of weird responsibility diminished life. Both of us do. Like, I don't have a lot of responsibilities right now. Anyway, it's time for everyone if they only learn that twisting kaleidoscope moves us all in turn. There's a rhyme and reason for the wild outdoors at the heart of this star-crossed voyage. Thanks, I found bacon. I would say that the way I approach relationships is not a matter of choice for me. It's sort of the unavoidable reality of being an ENTP who learned he was not reproductively viable during teenage years and didn't learn otherwise until his 40s. I never learned to be callous about other people's feelings at all. And I think it's kind of important to do that. The first person I ever broke up with was Kimberly. And she just compelled me to. She forced my hand. I had no choice. Make a new music video in Hawaii. I do want to make a new video for I'm a Star, which I don't know if everybody's aware of this, but I have scheduled and they've been releasing every day my songs onto the TWFP music channel. And I do plan to get them all up there, one per day for as many days as it takes to get them up there. It should be like 6 months or something. So I'm a Star is one I want to do a new video for. We could totally do it here. I think true love is not love at first sight, but something that grows over time, but on a foundation of friendship. Well, Sarah, ESFP, I'll tell you this. I want to talk about this a bit because it's a good point you're making, and also an interesting starting spot to discuss this fact. Like, Rachel and I began in a state of limerence, which is to say, I was just absolutely head over heels infatuated with her before I even met her in person. And then it's like we both came into the relationship determined with all these metaphysical notions about how things were going to be. We're going to put our best foot forward. A lot of shit, a lot of like workarounds for bad relationships from before. And each of those workarounds turned out to be unnecessary and just caused more problems than it actually solved in general. But what we've learned over time is just how different this relationship is than any of our previous relationships. So I did, fall in love with her quick. I wouldn't say first sight, but awfully quick. However, the actual love part, the real love part, has grown more slowly over time. And I really feel like it matured some during our period of absence when we just talked to each other via video conference and weren't physically in proximity with her. That turned out to work beautifully. It's like I never imagined a long-term relationship could be so fully fulfilling and satisfying. And it could. However, then again, when I finally saw her again and got to spend some time with her, I realized, oh my God, it is more important to be in their company. It does matter. But see, I'm always being surprised by things like that. It has to do with FI polar. I've got no good sense of FI in the abstract or some equivalent. I don't know. It confuses me. Which is probably why I've always been this sort of all in or all out kind of approach, which says I need to make sure that the statuses are determined before I can risk actually letting my feelings out. Most people do it the smart way, which is the other way around, where they go, let me see what my feelings are and then make an according level of commitment. Me, I'm not an ESFP, no. I'm definitely not an ESFP. There is passionate and compassionate love. The former is high in the start, the latter builds over time. Um, yeah, well, there's lustful lover love, passionate love. There's friend love, uh, you know, camaraderie, so to speak. Rachel and I have good camaraderie. So much so that because we're both metaphysical types, we'll go long stretches of the day without really touching each other. Or me not thinking of her as a woman, just thinking of her as a person who I'm hanging out with, And then it's come a certain point of the day when I sort of like remember, oh my gosh, I can totally touch this girl. This girl, my girl, I can grab her. It's just like I forget because it's not my nature to be that physical, really. King Kamehameha. Thanks, Winston's mom. You're a pal. You are the gentle trade wind that blows the palm leaves of my life. Humans are still animals. We are, and that's the thing is I'm not very tucked into my animal self. To the extent that I am, it's very SI. In other words, it doesn't really include other people. There's another thing worth noting here about SETI that I saw in Delilah this morning. So, the guy in the car started talking about license plates and how in Los Angeles she pays a lot of attention to license plates and thinks about it a lot of time and tries to figure out what the patterns are. Because I guess in California, every license plate starts with a number, then has 3 letters, then has 3 numbers. I never even noticed that shit. And she deduced, like, if it starts with this, it means this, and if it has these numbers, then it means that, and all sorts of other TI shit about it. Deduced lots of things about the system of license plates in California and what the various different sort of letters and numbers in certain places mean or don't mean. So I've never even thought about that shit before. Not the sort of thing that would ever bother TI. It seems silly and pointless to TI something like that. Now, to an ESTP, that's a physical system that they can access with their SE directly. It's not just ideas that are detached from reality, so it's preferable in that sense. Your ISTJ ex-husband and you were both dating INTJs. Wow, who knew that INTJs were such pimps? Rachel's ex is an INTJ too, one of them. So I found that interesting that both Delilah and Rachel had a fair amount to say about license plates and that system, that physical system. And it seems like that represents the kind of thing that SETI does more than NETI. Interestingly, we were just talking about Michael Corleone and The Godfather. We're talking about the movie, not the book. I was saying just the other day, last night, night before maybe, for some reason I was thinking of the scene where Michael Corleone shoots like the police commissioner guy and the other guy at the Italian restaurant, and how Michael Corleone and the other Italian guy says to the police chief at one point, if it's okay, I'm going to talk to my friend in Italian now for a bit. I was thinking about that scene for some reason, and that particular exchange. To be in love is different. I mean, I don't know. It's interesting to say that to be in love is different than infatuation, because I do have some sense of what it means to feel like you're in love with somebody.
like there's this feeling, I guess, sometimes that I guess it's like it's like a fullness in the chest or something. It indicates to me that, you know, I'm happy with being around this person. But I've always said, I mean, for a lot of years, more in the chest area, but into the gut too, the whole torso region. It's like this. It's like this sense of anticipation fulfilled, but it doesn't last very long. You know, it lasts in the moment. It doesn't really persist between those moments. Hi, Chase McDude. Ooh, that's a heart attack, Tom Jickelson. You want to watch out for those. It's easy to mistake a heart attack for love. Hi, Mateus Sanchez. Arrogant INTJs end up being a parody of themselves. That's an interesting statement. I would say there are probably a lot of people who would agree with that. Hello, there is no spoon. I experience sort of skin tingling and feeling in my chest that goes upwards. Yeah. Yeah. I'm always taken by surprise by the physicality that happens between me and Rachel. It's like I'm just not a very physical person. I don't think she's really a very physical person either. And so it's like when we go there, I think it's more comfortable. It's more a natural, native environment for her with the SE4. It's sort of a relief function for her. For me, it's like, oh yeah, there's this thing that happens. You know, it's weird because I don't. It's like my body's not something that I can willfully control, and it's not subject to my metaphysicality. But you know, the reality of things, I guess, pushes aside the metaphysics. Hi, old mate McGraw. Hope all is well. I come to you. I am an INFP and about to share an apartment with an ISTP. How fucked am I? I know cognitive stacks couldn't be more opposite. INFP with an ISTP. Your tools, they're polar. Their tools, you're polar. Your dominance, they're 8. Their dominance, you're 8. Well, it's better than conflictors, but not much. What type is that? It's like me and ENFP. Look, the thing is, no, it's not like me and ENFP. It's like me and ESFP. I mean, the thing is, there's a certain collegialness you'll feel between yourself and them. It goes with not both being extroverts or both being introverts in your case, and not stepping on each other's introverted toes, nevertheless. But it's not the worst. It's not the worst. There's gonna be a consistent distance between the two of you that never really closes, and it's not gonna really bother you that much. Do I ever get FI bothered talking about Rachel's exes? Less and less. I did it first. I was sort of habituated to doing that, but the way she talked about them sort of was like, I mean, I guess because she never talks about them fondly or compares me negatively against them, it doesn't bother me. I've learned to not really be bothered by it at all. Obviously, I don't like to think of Rachel being with other men at all. I don't enjoy picturing that at all. But it doesn't. I don't know. I'm not. Maybe it seems like there's something about the right relationship that makes a person less jealous because we reassure each other a lot, you know. I've noticed INTJs viewing physical attraction as unimportant, something that fades quickly. Have you noticed this? I don't know. I don't know enough INTJs well enough to know that. What do you think? Do you think INTJs view that as the case? Do INTJs view physical attraction as unimportant, something that fades quickly?
I disagree.
She disagrees. So why is the seventh slot weaker than the eighth? Okay, because the seventh is defined by, you could say it's defined by the second. Okay, your tool function is the thing you default go to every time. The seventh is the other kind of tool function. Like, so I've got TI as my tool function. That's a deliberation function. The other kind of deliberation function is FI, that's my polar. If you've got FE, like Rachel, in the tool slot, then you've got the other kind of interface function as your polar, TE. If you've got SI as your tool function, you've got the other kind of knowledge function, NI as your polar. That's like my dad. So it's the reason the seventh is the weakest is because you basically think it's the wrong way to, for me, FI is the wrong way to deliberate. And for Rachel, TE is the wrong way to interface. And for everybody, the seventh is the wrong way to do the thing the second does. INTJs are weird with physical, INFJs sometimes too.
Sometimes is right.
I mean, that's the thing is, I think the physicality goes very easy with me and Rachel because we both prioritize the metaphysical aspects of things, you know?
Yeah.
It's not so much what we're doing, is how we're approaching it or something. I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know. I feel very comfortable. I'm happy as hell.
Me too. Me too. Yeah, I feel very comfortable. I feel safe. The thing about the seventh slot, remember, they call it the polar, which stands for place of least resistance, because it's an area where you're subject to being attacked and you won't really be able to defend yourself. So why was I in that relationship with Kimberly such a long time, even though it was clearly not good for me? Well, because she consistently was attacking me at my polar. So what do I do at first when somebody attacks my polar? I assume I must be doing something wrong and I need to change me or how I am or what I'm doing because somebody else is saying there's something wrong with me. That's, third slot FE, where TI doesn't work because they're attacking something that's not a TI thing, right? They're attacking me in ways that aren't TI arguable. So it took me a very long time to finally say, okay, I don't want to be continually subjected to FI attacks. It hurts. I don't like it because I keep going back to my tool function. Okay, so this person made me feel bad. So what does that tell me about me? It must mean that I must be insecure about this thing. I have an issue there, blah, blah, blah. That's a TI approach to an FI attack. It's a self-critique. Or potentially critique the other person, but then critique them against like, okay, well, because she's this way, that's not an okay way to say it. If she wants to critique me in this area, in a way that hurts me but is legitimate. She needs to say it this way. Well, how about she just not hurt me at all, right? Would be a sensible approach. But FI polar means you just don't, it sort of doesn't occur to you as significant enough.
Yeah.
The thing is, the criticisms of polar are not what I'm talking about. It's not like Kimberly was saying your FI is not good enough, Eric. She was doing things intentionally designed to hurt my feelings, but positioning them as some sort of reasonable critique.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I am unable to go, oh, you don't mean that as a legitimate reason for anything. You're trying to hurt my feelings, so it doesn't matter to you what your rationalization is. Whatever rationalization you provide, as long as it's satisfying to me, as long as my feelings are still hurt, that's you're satisfied. That's what you're trying to do. When somebody's trying to hurt my feelings, I don't know how to deal with that. I try to respond to them rationally and reasonably, but of course, if they're trying to hurt my feelings, then that reasonable, rational response isn't going to help.
Yeah, that's a really good
Analysis. Thanks. So anyway, the dynamics around here are, I'm sure, very frustrating for my dad, who, as the Delta Quadrant extrovert, or one of the two, I guess, the extroverted judger, really expects it to be a quadra-friendly environment where you've got SFPs telling the STJs what they want to do, and the STJs making that happen.
Yeah.
But of course, there are no SFPs here. You've got Beta Quadra, with FETI, and you've got Alpha Quadra, with FETI. Nobody has any FI. My dad wants us all to know what we want to do, tell him, and then he gets to make that happen, in his TE way. But we just, it's like, it must be incredibly frustrating for him. At least I understand what's going on and try to, a little bit. But like Delilah and Danny, they don't, and he doesn't get what's happening, right? They don't get it because they don't understand cognitive functions. So they just like, what is wrong with these people?
Delilah's young too.
True.
I feel like I was at 21, like, it's kind of how it goes. Honestly, the first time ever where like things were like understood was in the trip that I went to Europe with my family too. Like that was when they were like, okay, she needs to sleep. Let's let her sleep. No big deal. At least Jay learned. It was good. It's really good.
Well, Bacon, you say I don't think that explanation aiming to hurt your feelings generalizes well across text. Well, let me show you what it would look like on TE polar. TE polar, it's basically you are subject to having yourself invalidated in that area. So I could critique Rachel on, God, why can't, don't you know how to do this? This is not difficult. Rachel, figure it out. What's wrong with you? Blah, blah, blah. And she would constantly be like, okay, my bad, because she knows it probably is her bad, right?
Yeah.
That's what makes it polar, place of least resistance. Because what she should say is, that's my polar, fuck off.
That's so much easier than having to explain. I adopted my bad. Eric, it's taking the cheese.
Did they take all the cheese?
Yeah.
Not quite all of it, but almost all of it.
Oh, all of it? No.
Took most of it, though.
Yeah, they have been. I was out on the porch with your dad when it happened for the first time.
If you were like SI polar and you were to suddenly sort of like run out of energy because you didn't eat and drink.
Yeah.
And somebody's like, look, you got to stay on top of that. You need to rest before you come. You need to make sure you eat and drink. These are basic things, man. Come on. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That would be attacking someone in SI polar,
Right.
Or why can't you remember any examples? I need you to give me examples of this. Well, and the person's like, hey,
Oh, that's so funny.
Wouldn't that be the equivalent of saying you're a bad person or failing to use FI correctly when what happened with you means you're bad? No, because it's saying, it so happens that for me, FI attacks are FI attacks. In other words, you could hurt my feelings by saying, like, oh man, that's a really cringy piece of art you made, Eric, or something. That would hurt my feelings. Or, like Kim was always basically invalidating all of my work as play. Now, whether she deems it work or play is irrelevant, ultimately. It's not a TI consideration because she can deem it play if she wants. I could win the argument that TI is work, or I could win the argument that it's play. It doesn't really matter. The point is, she was choosing to view it as play to invalidate most of what I did most of the time, to make it clear to me that she didn't value it. So why? She's entitled to value or not value things that she wishes. That's her FI, right? But she was attacking my FI directly. So I agree, it's not exactly the best example. In every instance, it's going to invalidate the person. It's going to hurt their FI in some sense. And say your place of least resistance, the reason it's going to hurt your FI for everybody is because FI is ultimately the physical experience of valuing. If you have successfully attacked somebody, you've got them to experience some negative FI, some bad feelings, right?
Definitely. Who hasn't experienced that?
And there's not really any other way to successfully attack somebody. You could attack their resources or something, like reduce their amount of resources is an SI attack, existing resources, or something like that. But mostly when people attack each other is through words, and it's designed to hurt the other person's feelings or make them feel bad or make them feel lesser or something like that. In which area they're susceptible to that most, that's their polar. Elizabeth B. Milburn's parents are 4th TI and 7th TI. Painful. Well, at least my dad is 5th TI. It plays just like hangs up. But then the issue's resolved. It's like I don't have to fight that battle anymore. He hates TI-NI attacks. NI attacks are the worst, right? If I tell him, but Dad, the truth is, he's just like, I remember when he was having his identity theft thing going on, and I kept telling him that's not possible because of determinant factor X. He was helpless like a baby. It was weird. Right. So exactly, maybe FI is, as a consequence, not the greatest example to use because everything's going to hurt FI, whether they attack your I mean, the thing is, I agree, most epipolar and epipolar will probably be subject to similar strategies to get to the FI. Like, if you attack my FE, I'll probably feel bad.
For that.
But I got better defenses. If I know, I can know whether you're wrong or not in that. Like you attack my FE and my FE is actually good, it's not going to work. I'm going to see it as an FE ploy on your part. I'm pretty intuitive about whether my FE is in fact failing or not. So you got to be right in that instance. You attack my FI directly, you're attacking something like, well, you're like Kimberly in the example of my rewriting my history. She was attacking my SI to get to my FI, but she was attacking parts of my SI that I had FI attachments to. Namely, she wasn't saying, no, it wasn't the case that you had Mr. Barrett in 6th grade, you had Mrs. Jean or whatever. She wasn't talking about irrelevant things from my past. I didn't care if they got rewritten. She was talking about parts of my past that I used as narratives in my identity. And the reason she was doing that is because that's where my FI was. She wanted to bring me down multiple notches. She thought I was too big for my britches. This is a phenomenon of people who have not a clear sense of their own ontology. They tend to get, they feel the need to take me down a notch in particular. It's like I to people who, if somebody's struggling with self-concept in some sense, it's like I can see why I am offensive to such people. It's there's inherently bad FE in positioning yourself as uniquely right or right to the exception of everybody else's disagreement. It's not a collaborative sort of approach. It's not an inclusive sort of approach to making a point. And it's not a very FE attentive sort of approach. So there's lots of reasons for people to want to come in and attack right away. when it's done legitimately, they're attacking on TI grounds. When it's done sort of legitimately, they're attacking on TE grounds. When it's done not legitimately, they're attacking on FE grounds. And if it's done successfully and illegitimately, they're attacking on FI grounds. But it's pretty hard actually to get, via this medium anyway, to get to me on FI. Most of the things that I might be FI sensitive about, I'm not anymore. Or, you know, like things people get FI sensitive about. It was good for me to be subject to so much FI attack in that last relationship because I developed some better defenses and some just generally better understanding of what's going on and all that shit, you know? Good night. It's only 1:20 in the afternoon here in Hawaii. There is no spoon. What time is it where you are? It's the middle of the day, 1:20 p.m. Good night. Boy, what a lazy bones there is no spoon is, huh? I got some really great pictures of sunsets and stuff last night. I'm only an hour ahead of Angantyr. So you mean it's 12:30 p.m. where you are, Angantyr? Relationships require vulnerability, somewhat exposing what FI subjects matter to you and making them available for critique, but trusting the other person not to abuse it. Right. In fact, in a healthy relationship, the other person doesn't just not abuse it. They are attentive to, you know, supporting you in areas where you need support. And, you know, at least between metaphysical types, it's very important that Rachel and I say the right words to each other. And we do, almost always, you know, without exception. Yeah, it's like if you're satisfied with your partner not abusing you, then you're too easily satisfied. I was in that relationship as well, like with my ESFJ. She was not abusive at all. There's nothing wrong with her. She's a good woman. And we had a successful utilitarian relationship. Like it did what it was supposed to do. She did a great job of raising Delilah, at least until Delilah was a teenager, at which point, you know, ESFJ's NI never kicks in and goes, different person now. They don't have it, so they just kind of assume that the child remains a child forever. So that caused some conflict, but regardless, it was a good relationship for utility purposes. But that's another FI polar thing. You know, if you're doing it right, then that's not a good relationship. That's a satisfactory solvency that doesn't care about the relationship. You know?
I feel that.
It prioritizes other things. And I still get very I still have and make arguments along the lines of that was a good relationship. Like I still don't think of it as bad because it didn't actively hurt me, right? But at the same time, we weren't very authentic with each other. We never really got vulnerable, like real. I don't think not like Rachel and I do. We never really saw eye to eye. We're two extroverts, and she had a different understanding of success in life than I did.
Yeah.
I need to go get myself a non-alcoholic beer. Do you want another one?
Yeah, please. I was thinking about something to munch on too.
Okay.
Thank you. Oh, excuse me.
That's just these. No, sorry, still left. There's 4 of them left. We each have 2 of them.
Woo!
Mm.
Thank you.
Which one do you want? Buckler or cross?
I was in Buckler, actually.
Okay. It's weird that FI users have a tendency to reduce things to good and bad versus bad when FI is so mushy and hard to express. Well, I think they do. They have a tendency to reduce things to good and bad when they're talking about things that aren't appropriate for FI. So, like when they talk about politics, politicians and stuff.
Right?
These things are so damn good. They're called malasadas.
Mm.
And
So,
Mom, I gotta say, I have never experienced quite a good set of 3 nights sleep.
thank you. Go to spiders.
I know, go get caught by a spider fly. In the last 3 nights for both of us. We've both been out, no problem. We like, how much did you sleep last night?
A lot.
I was asleep like 7:30.
Yeah. I fell asleep around 11. Out.
But she was out all night. I think she's gonna take a nap this afternoon.
Mhm.
Nap.
Yeah.
Fucking fly.
Okay. Oh my gosh, they're still so like.
Mm. These are like the chewiest donut-esque things in the history of the world.
That was fun. I thought it's great.
There's never anything good to say about what? FI?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think Rachel and I both enjoy FI quite a bit.
I thought, yeah. No one's hating on that.
There's just one fly. It's like there's hardly any bugs around here.
I know.
We keep trying to find bugs to feed to the spiders. They're these.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is non-alcoholic beer. Delilah and Danny got alcoholic beer. Thanks,
Hi,
Princess
hi.
Mom. My color is excellent. I can tell I'm rested.
Aw. It doesn't work. It's interesting. Maybe the way it's made.
English teacher said you can't use sir, madam. It's ridiculous.
So imagine. Sexist?
You tell her that only a stupid woman would say that.
Yeah. Sten is ma'am. Yes, you is.
Well, there are mongoose, Winston's mom. There are plenty of mongoose around.
Yep.
We've seen quite a few mongooses. Mongooses.
Mhm.
And they're kind of ferret-like, I would guess. They're kind of like little
Mhm.
weasels. Kind of
Yeah.
these thin little weaselly-looking things.
Mm-hmm.
Ricky Tikki Tavi. Was Ricky Tikki Tavi a mongoose? Yeah, I guess he was.
Mm-hmm. No, Lord and Lady is definitely sexist. The challenge I want even more.
It's
Dumb.
dear rapist or worker child. Rapist or worker child. Worker child's the appropriate term because, woman has the word man in it. So you go woe person, but person has the word son in it. So you go woe per child, right? That's the
Oh.
correct way to say woman is a child.
That is.
And of course, men you can just call rapists.
It's not sexist.
The only way to fight the patriarchy. Bros and bitches. Bros and bitches is, I think the feminists are okay with that.
It's better than boats and hoes.
Right, better than boats and hoes. Rip your swords and cups. We can call men and women swords and cups.
Swords and cups. Good thing to mix.
You think my sword will fit into your cup? Good pickup line. Hey, I was looking at the tarot earlier. I saw a vision of my sword fitting into your cup. It's a good thing to say at like an ENFP conference.
Yes.
How did they come on
Oh
ENFPs?
my gosh.
I saw a tarot purple earlier where my sword was inside of your cup. Let's prove the tarot real. Let's prove the tarot wise.
That's a good pickup line. It's like the sword and stone.
If you were pouring water out of 2 jugs right now, you totally look like the star. That's what you consider somebody.
Right? That is a good.
That's a good pickup line.
Yes.
Rods are fire. Swords are words. Swords are air. Fire is rod. Cup is water. Pentacles are earth.
Yep.
You know what, baby? It's gonna take a little physicality to turn my sword into a rod. And the only way to douse that fire, baby, is to dip it into your cup. So I wonder if people have mongoose as pets.
Probably. Right? Like, I don't know. Some people take stray cats.
So air is like a queef.
Interesting. Well, I feel like that's, maybe. They do always say it's mostly air.
Good to know.
I say yes.
Sure. Absolutely. Earth, wind, water, fire seems like the states of matter. I mean, solid, liquid, gaseous, and plasma.
Wait.
Interesting, found bacon. Good point. Mind, body, spirit, soul. What's the difference between spirit and soul?
Interesting.
How much soul do I need to have before I get spirit?
Do you have to have spirit to have soul?
Can I have a dispirited soul? I guess you have a dispirited soul, right?
Spirited soul, but then you have soul-y spirit.
Spirit is energy, soul is being, I guess.
Soul's being,
Yes.
spirit is energy.
Yeah.
Mind, body, spirit, soul. That's like with the 4 leaves of a 4-leaf clover. They add on like one more thing to make it like extra lucky. They're normally 3.
Well, it seems like mind and body are constraints, and spirit and soul are potentials.
Accurate.
Yeah. Soul is the train, spirit the coal. Okay. So what's mind and body in that? Body's the tracks. Mind is the driver.
Yeah.
In your train analogy.
I like that.
Solely ghost. You misspelled ghost. The H goes before the O.
Good call. And I've definitely made that mistake before.
Ghost. Conductor, fine. Mujan, fine. The word's conductor, not driver. Fine. And you don't drive a boat, you pilot one. Fine.
You do?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Ow!
Important facts that we aren't very important. But nevertheless, we pretend they're important. We're about to finish our weed, Rachel. We'll pack us each a couple bowls, and that's or one maybe, and that's about all we got.
That's fine. I'm gonna get a coat.
Okay.
Chill.
It's also going to be a little tobacco-y, is the way I pack my weed for travel in a cigar. All right, let's pull this bowl. We're going to have to go get more weed here in Hawaii. I'm not sure how to do that. If I had looked into it ahead of time, you actually can set it up so that you have a medical thing in California and you get sent over to Hawaii, you can get a medical card so you can buy 4 ounces while you're here on vacation. But I didn't do that setup thing ahead of time. So but Eric, that won't do. You simply must have marijuana. I know, I must. The fact is, if I have to go without it for uh, 4 days, 5 days, and I guess it won't kill me technically. I'll come close, but not quite. I suppose I'll survive that. What's $30? Wouldn't the body be SI? Well, I would think, when you're talking about cognitive functions, there are 8. So 2 would have to go to each of those. I would say, the body is SESI. Mind is TITE. The spirit, maybe NE, NI, and soul. I mean, you could think of it on a couple of different. Excuse me, mister, this is the federal police, and you have been arrested for the murder of Swedish politician Olof Palme in 1986. Oh, wow. They're going to have a hard time proving that one, I think. The federal police. Not appreciado. That's surprising that they're arresting me for the murder of a Swedish politician in 1986. But I was in high school. It was in 9th grade, I think. Maybe 8th grade. I definitely didn't go to Sweden then. Well, look, SE is basically about, doing shit, executing that which has been decided. I did. As an 8th grader? The Veckodags Polisen. That I went to Sweden. I've never been to Sweden. Sorry. I certainly didn't go to Sweden in 8th grade.
Your mom went to Sweden.
Your mom went to Sweden?
Yeah.
How did you like it?
Oh, no, I was joking. I said your mom went to Sweden.
Oh, yeah.
She may have actually.
My mom probably did go to Sweden.
Yeah.
Maybe it was her. You can go arrest her at her memory village and San Marino.
Sweden.
It's obviously you're on the run. Why else would I be traveling somewhere? Well, we're on the run. Why would I know where I am? Have you considered that?
I'm on the run from your mom.
You're with the feds. You know, you are one of the more interestingly named federal agents I've ever encountered. Schnitzel Hugendorf. Not that I've encountered very many federal agents.
Where are the
Oh, you're
humans?
Swedish. Oh, you've got an odd name for a Swede as well. TI in the 8th, I was born to represent you. Okay, good. You can deal with my lawyer, old mate McGraw here. What might be the result of a house with at least one of every quadra?
A good TV show.
Yeah, I don't think that would be a family that gets along very well, ultimately. If you had like a father that was an ESTJ,
Okay.
a mother ENTJ, son INTP, and daughter INFP.
Yeah.
That'd be a rough family. Okay, Schnitzel. I'll wait. I'm waiting for you guys to come arrest me. Is breathing meditation shifting attention to physical SI while stoicism is shifting attention away from metaphysical SI? That's an interesting way to put it. Breathing meditation, I think, is really shifting your attention to your SE ultimately, because I think you're ultimately supposed to sort of pay attention to everything, all the sounds and realities around you, not so much your breath itself. Yeah, old mate McGrath, that's a good strategy. Schnitzel Hugendorf, you're gonna have to prove Sweden exists before we take you seriously. Okay, it's a necessary but insufficient burden.
Well, he's your lawyer.
Yeah, well, I'm just running with what he says there.
Yeah, you gotta do that.
You made the coronavirus? Before you, it was just nobody had ever heard of it. And you took over promotion of it. You made that coronavirus what it is today.
Yeah.
Good for you. You're an active guy. Okay, yeah, sure.
Sweet smell is GOAT. Now, GOAT is...
the greatest of all time.
Oh, that's right. That's what they call Muhammad Ali. And I always forget what like GOAT means. They call LeBron that too.
Time to admit to my crimes, huh?
What?
Time to admit to my crimes, huh? Hi, Delilah. For a second, I thought you were the Swedish police.
Oh, we are. I'm gonna take one of these.
Okay.
Yeah, you should.
Thanks.
All I want to do is make serious movies that explore social issues and turn a profit and slip the schnitzel with James Depew. James Elroy. A funny quote. I don't know who that is.
Have some fun. All I want to do is make serious movies that explore social issues and turn a profit and slip the schnitzel to Jane Day. You punch?
Well, SE is doing stuff that doesn't really accomplish anything in terms of goals. Well, the thing is, it depends like where it is and who it's paired with. Like, for example, my dad's demonstrative SE is very much linked to attaining goals, and you see it in him all the time trying to make shit happen that has a very clear outcome. Like, you know, he was trying to make happen earlier the solvency of a problem that I noted but didn't intend for him to solve for all, but I should have known better, which was that we still need to get Rachel a bathing suit. She doesn't have it. So, you know, he then wanted to solve that problem. And his so SE, it's like SE and an ESTP, for example, is not very solvency oriented. It still gets things done one way or the other. Whether it's a good thing that gets done or not is another question. Like Trump constantly is doing shit. Is it good stuff he's doing? Some of it is okay, some of it's horrible, some of it whatever. The problem isn't what specifically he's doing, it's how he's doing it. Which is to say, he's just doing shit. He's just making shit happen.
He literally said, quote, that he lives in his own reality. I was like, let's see. I mean, he literally is making shit happen. He's president.
Doors open, Schnitzel. Come on in.
That would be nice. I like that.
It's 123 Hula Drive, Kona, Hawaii. I don't know the zip code, so I have to look it up.
I should get the postcard for my mom.
Okay, well, don't worry, I don't smoke any methamphetamine, so we'll be fine. Nope, don't smoke any methamphetamines. The problem with a lot of people who get into politics is initially they see the thing as binary and they're different shades of darkness. I mean, the problem with people getting into politics is they use their feelings a lot. They're not using their rationality enough.
Sometimes sly money too, which is like,
That's self-interest again. That's FI. Taking money that serves your interests when you're serving the public is a classic FI maneuver. It's prioritizing your own interests over the interests of what you're supposed to do. It's not caring about the FE, right? Like, I'm supposed to be representing everybody else and spending their money on stuff that serves the public good, not on making myself richer. But, you know, if you don't have any ethics, then whatever.
yeah, it doesn't even compute. I guess.
Well,
but it's true. But and then there's also like traditionalists as well who like just like it's like their own tradition, so it's a little bit more difficult to like, explain things.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
no, you're slandering me now. I don't smoke any meth, and
any kind of math. That's a statement, not a question. Matthias Sanchez.
you are immune to AIDS. Congratulations. I find they claim the moral high ground often. People with a lot of FI tend not to realize that about themselves. Yeah, they don't tend to realize that. It's like, I mean, they assume that, you know, a lot of people will come, and the thing is, it's not just FI. There's lots of different ways to be wrong about political stuff.
Yeah.
So the thing is, I tend to not be wrong, you know, is the thing. I can be, I am sometimes, I'm sure, but I'm not particularly, I'm not attached to my positions for emotional reasons. I've selected my positions because of argumentational reasons. And that's the big difference. Thanks, baby. You're so beautiful. So, you're immune to corona as well. Why would you think you're immune to those things, Megan? Have you shot yourself full of AIDS blood and been fine? Have you eaten a coronavirus infected pig and been fine? Yes, being that bipolar doesn't mean a lack of self-interest, an underserving of one's own interests, for sure. Yeah, I think you did, Schnitzel. I think I'm the wrong person. Maybe you shot the right person because you didn't shoot me, and I'm the wrong person. I mean, didn't every Europeans?
Yeah.
Okay, Recco dogs. I mean, why does your surveillance cameras invalidate my stream?
Why? Are you looking for like people to flash? Like, what's going on with that? There is no point in continuing your stream.
Right. Okay. I'll keep that in mind. I wonder if it's a strategy to shift attention away from one function to another for saying that orientation and aspect, like viewing bad FI feelings as physical sensations of doing chores or solving problems. The thing is, viewing chores as solving problems. I mean, chores are solving problems. Are you an INFP or something? I found big now. Or what are you? INFJ, INFP, or INTP, or what? I mean, bad FI feelings are physical sensations. They are more than just physical sensations, but the easiest part of them to identify are the physical sensation part of them. And it's true that SI also relates to physical sensations, but FI's physical sensations aren't related to the physical body per se, or anything happening in the physical. Oh, was just a practice this whole time? Yeah, I sure did. I was terrified. I was freaking out. You know, for a second there, I thought maybe I did kill that Swedish politician back in 1996. So maybe I did. I just don't remember it. The thing is, oh yeah, for sure. Good. I'm glad you're satisfied then. Nothing makes me happier than seeing a couple of random Swedish police officers be satisfied. What function procrastinates? Extroverted intuition, probably, is the most procrastinating. Well, I think ESTPs are selfish because of the nature of their action function. In other words, they don't necessarily know what they want to do, but they want to do something, and so they do the thing, and then that ends up being playing out kind of selfish because, well, it just they're so into change, you know. When you're into change, you're not really like I don't know. Does it make me not value TI if I'm dumping my ideation onto you? Not necessarily. It depends how developed you are. More developed TI users are not afraid of delegating a little TI, or I guess getting another set of ears on the thing. It's dialectic rather than rhetoric. You know, not all TI is rhetorical. So it depends. You know, a lot of times I'll put things out there. Like, I don't know, I can't figure this part out. I don't know. Maybe somebody else can figure it out. But or I don't want to figure it out. It seems hard. You know, it's not like I probably have the ability to, but I have to write things down. If I have to write things down, it suddenly becomes too hard. What you got there, baby cakes? Oh, cheese and crackers and meat.
Yeah.
Delicious. I think I'm about ready to wrap up this live stream. Maybe we can take that back inside and chill in there and eat it.
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking about maybe getting Rachel to like use her pentacle to open her douse my sword when it becomes enraged with fire. It's a tarot thing. It's called tarot lovemaking. But we'll see. I don't want to say that. I mean, you know, metaphorically only, Rachel said. Metaphorically only. Don't worry about that. You know, it's all metaphor. I will return your daughter to you just as gentle as I received her. I feel like your working memory is too crappy, so writing that information is nice to see it all in one place. I mean, what type do you like identify as, Bacon? Before I wrap this up, thank you, Chris Chapin. Appreciate the well wishes. I need to take a shower or two. INFP? I think you're an INFP. That's my guess. Just a guess, but my guess. You're INFP. All right, thanks. We'll have a nice time in Hawaii, and we'll see y'all later. Hasta la vista, as they say in Hawaii. Oh, wait, no, it's aloha.